Yay, the kids are finally asleep.
So do you feel like...
Playing a game?
I've got a feeling a boss fight's coming up.
Ooh, I just got wrecked.
Headshot, baby.
Ooh, it's your turn to get the baby.
So are you up to the challenge?
Run, 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 run.
And we're dead.
That's when I realized I have no idea what I'm doing.
GG.
And welcome back to the KJ After Dark Gamer Parents Podcast. My name is Joanne and I'm joined by my amazing gamer partner in crime, best friend, and wonderful husband, Kevin.
Hey everyone.
If this is your first time here today, Kevin and we have two kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And we share the same passion of gaming. I like to call us big kids with little kids. And this podcast is where we talk about life and, of course, give our reviews about the bi-weekly games we play from a parent's point of view. We don't have much time because we're busy during the day with work and kids. So we got a couple hours at night to play a few games and then say what we think about it here, and hopefully that helps other gamer parents out there make a decision on what game they want to play or check out our reviews before playing the games. So Kevin, before we begin, how has your week been going?
Well, I would just want to say this is also episode number 30, which is a huge milestone. So that's really cool that we've made it this far. It doesn't feel like the podcast is like such a baby anymore. I mean, like we definitely put in a decent amount of time and churning out 30 episodes now. I guess technically 29 point something, but you know, I feel like that's
a milestone.
Definitely a milestone.
Woohoo!
So excited about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as how this week has been on the life side of things, I feel like it's kind of a repeat of last week of what I said there. But today, we're recording on the weekend. It was another pool day. So that was kind of similar to last week, just hanging out by the pool, having a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but as far as during the week, we got to have a nice little trip to New York City.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, so that was last week for a couple of days.
Without the children.
Yeah, so no kids. My parents watched them. Thankfully, we are so appreciative for them.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to go and hang out for a couple of days without the kids in New York and just explore a little bit. It wasn't very long of a trip, but we got to see a few places. We got to enjoy some good food, just the two of us. So I feel like when it is just us two and not the kids, every meal seems like a date.
Yeah, definitely. Every trip feels like a vacation.
Regardless of what it is, really.
Yeah.
It could be a picnic or something and just feel like the most romantic date time ever just because the kids aren't there.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I think that one of the highlights for me was we went out and had Japanese food.
Mm-hmm.
What was that called again that we had? I forget. I think the thing that got me the most was the cold noodles.
Oh, the zaru soba? Oh,
yes.
That was like the side food. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I think it's probably the first time I've had cold noodles like that. So that was different for me, but it wasn't that bad. It was okay.
Mm-hmm. It was refreshing.
It was interesting.
Yep. So we were AFK in NYC.
There you go. How about on the gaming side? For me, obviously it's been a lot of Hearthstone, still playing the newest expansion, of course. And outside of that, I think maybe I did a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy since last week. Not a whole lot. I'm still working through finishing off that game and getting to the credits. And then we did play a lot of Dead by Daylight.
Yes, we did.
And I feel like most games that we're planning to review, we'll put in just enough time to get a better feel for them. But I feel like this time we spent every moment that we had, a gaming moment that we had playing it. We didn't really play much of anything else. So we'll get into Dead by Daylight at the end of the episode, we'll give our review and talk all about it, what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to jump into anything else this week, or are you probably the same as me, right?
Yes, but I did get a game on my phone, which is like a book, because I like reading, and I happened to see this ad on this book game where you get to choose, and it's called Choices. So you get to read a book while making a choice, and then decide where that leads to. And that was pretty fun for me. That was like my kind of game too. So
Yeah, so I have to ask. You said you saw the ad. Was the ad like the actual game?
pretty much, this one was pretty much similar. Yes.
Is this one that you've been playing for a long time, or that you just started playing for the first time?
I played it before, and then after that, I like abandoned it for a couple years or 3 years, and then I saw the ad again, so I had to re-download it and play it again, and that was pretty fun, especially because I miss reading, and that was just the perfect game since we were AFK, so I had my phone.
So is it like one of those books that probably most of us had growing up, where like go to this page if you want to do this,
Yeah.
or go to that page if you want to do that?
Kinda. And then I also check out this game called Drawbridge. It's drawing a bridge, but then it was nothing like the ad. Like in the ad, it was like a full-blown bridge that you draw, and then in the game, it was just like a black, like a scribble, you know. But it still kind of makes sense that you're just trying to connect the two spots A to B and let the car
Sure.
drive on it. So that was the two games I checked out on my phone while we were away. But other than that, I haven't been into Lost Ark or anything this past 2 weeks, just because I was hooked on Dead by Daylight. I tell you, seemed like the kind of relaxing game for me when I play as the killer. Only because it was more, exciting to chase victims down and stuff. But when I'm the survivor, it was extra stressful because of those skill checks, when you repair the generator or when you're trying to fight back. But we'll talk about that more in detail later. But yeah, Dead by Daylight was cool. I played it almost like every night when we could. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know you were talking about mobile games some, and I feel like we're at this point with mobile games, and I don't know exactly why, but I mean the ads never seem to be the actual game. They always seem to be extremely misleading. Or like in the ad, you're like, "Oh, this game looks like it would be really fun. I'll download it," and then you get in and you realize that it's nothing like the ad at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is probably a few years ago, but that happened like a few times in a row, and then I was like, okay, this is apparently just a thing among mobile games, that the advertisements always look really cool and way cooler than the actual game. So now I actually just like look up gameplay of it, like someone else is just like sharing their gameplay and everything, to actually see what it's like before downloading it. You cannot go off of the ads anymore.
That's true. It's like clickbait sometimes.
Exactly. It's pretty much exactly what it is. I don't know if it also could be classified as false advertising or anything like that.
Probably.
But anywho, that's how our weeks went.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could jump into some, not necessarily news, I guess some kind of news. But I did see that they were going to be coming up with a Pacman movie.
What's it called again?
I don't know what it's going to be called, but I did see that they were going to have a movie come out for Pacman. I just thought that was interesting. And I don't know if it's considered like live action or what. Like, kind of makes me think of like the Sonic movies that they've been coming out with. So they're going to have a live action Pac-Man movie. That one just doesn't seem to work as well for me as like even like Sonic, for example. Because I don't really know like what would the story be in Pac-Man. I have no idea.
Like how he ended up learning how to eat balls and ghosts.
You're like, okay, I'm just going to eat stuff, and this magic pill or something's going to let me eat ghosts.
I don't know. That would be interesting to watch. I'm actually trying to figure out how it would turn out.
Yeah, I have no idea like what kind of story they would come up with for that. I'm sure they'll come up with something creative and unique and fun, but I have no idea where they would go with that. Did you ever play Pac-Man?
Yeah.
You did.
I
Okay.
did.
Very much, and I would assume that was like a long time ago.
A long time ago. I don't even remember how old I was when we played it. I think it was in the arcade when I played it, actually. I don't know.
I'm sure I played it once or twice in an arcade somewhere, but like outside of that, like I never owned anything that was Pac-Man or
Yeah.
never really played it more than once or twice at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never really largely exposed to Pac-Man, but hey, if it's on Redbox or Rental or Netflix or somewhere like that, we might end up watching it one day. I also just wanted to share that there's a few games up for grabs right now. I guess really just one, but if you wanted to, you could head to the Epic Game Store and grab Cook Serve Delicious 3 on the Epic Game Store for free right now. That is until August 18th. That's going to be Thursday of this next week. So when this comes out, you have a few days to go over to the store and grab that for free. You just have to add it to your library and you can download it and play whenever you want. There's another cooking game, which I feel like there's been a lot of lately.
I know.
Right? There's been obviously Overcooked, been out for longer. But then there was Recipe for Disaster, and then this one too. Well, so it's Cook Serve Delicious ! And then 3 ? Funny title, but yeah, that one, it's another cooking game if you kind of like those simulator type ones. So you can check that one out for free if you want. And there is also going on right now a deal that Best Buy is doing. It's 10 days of 10 different games for $10 a piece. And just checking them out, they actually have some pretty decent titles that they're putting on there. So, like, for example, Call of Duty Vanguard was one of them. Back 4 Blood was one. And the 4th one now is Death Stranding, which is definitely some decent titles on there. And so we still have 6 more days of $10 games from Best Buy. So if you get a chance to go check those out, maybe you might get a decent game for only $10. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, we should totally check that out.
Yeah, I'm watching that one every day to see if there's something I want to get. I might maybe get Death Stranding. We've never played that. We totally missed that game, so maybe we pick it up and catch back up. See what it was all about. But now, Joanne, you want to kick us off on the Game Pass games?
Yes. So new game releases this past week on Game Pass is 2 Point Campus on console, PC, and cloud. Cooking Simulator, another cooking game right there.
Another cooking game?
I know. On console, PC, and cloud as well. Expeditions Rome, only on PC. And Off-World Trading Company, only on PC.
Interesting. Okay. I'll go ahead and add on to that with the new game releases. We have 2 Point Campus, which was also released on Game Pass. But 2 Point Campus on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. We have Lost in Play on Switch and PC. Cult of the Lamb on PS5 and 4, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Rumbleverse on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. And then we have Marvel Spider-Man, which was just released on PC. So of those games, a few of those I don't know too much about. 2 Point Campus will also be on Game Pass, so we have the chance to play that one as part of our subscription if we wanted to, but it didn't look that interesting to me. Like, you're kind of building a school, and you're like, I guess, buying different things for the school and kind of piecing it all together, and I guess just building it to whatever you want it to be or look like. Rumbleverse looked kind of interesting. It's like a battle royale, very cartoony. You pick what character you want to use, and it wasn't like a first-person shooter or anything like that. They didn't really seem to have like many like weapons or that kind of thing. It was almost more like wrestling moves or something. But that one looked kind of fun. And then obviously Marvel's Spider-Man, one of the bigger Spider-Man games to be released, is now coming to PC, which was an interesting move for Sony, just like kind of what we saw with God of War going to PC. I'm sure there'll be a lot more sales jumping in for that one. Now people can play it on PC.
I check out Cult of the Lambs trailer on YouTube, and
Dude, how did that one look?
it looked kind of like similar to what's that game we play? No one saves the world.
Oh, really? Nobody saves the world?
Yeah, nobody saves
Yeah.
the world. I mean, like the graphics kind of look like that, you know?
Really?
Yeah, like a town, and then
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
pretty cute, but kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all for news and game releases and all of that. Shall we move along into Dead by Daylight?
Yes, please.
All right. So what did you like about Dead by Daylight? I guess we'll start on that end of,
So,
or I guess we start with explaining the game.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, right. For people who don't know how the game is played, we'll kind of just give a brief overview of what it's like. But Dead by Daylight, I don't know if it's your normal like classic horror game. 'Cause it's not single player. It's completely multiplayer.
mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're a survivor, you're kind of pitted against a killer, or if you're the killer, then you're pitted against the survivors. And each match, you have one killer and 4 survivors.
Yes.
And if you're a survivor, then you are trying to, first and foremost, avoiding the killer at all costs. You do not want the killer to find you. You kind of want to stay hidden and stay out of sight. That's basically goal number 1. Secondly, there are these generators around the map, which are apparently broken, and we all apparently have amazing mechanic skills and have the ability to fix them
Yeah.
over the course of about a minute. So if you find these generators, you can fix them, and once you repair 5 generators, then you can open the door that gets you out of the level or out of the map, and you technically escape from the killer. So that's the whole goal for the survivor.
Yeah.
You mainly just survive, and if you can, escape the level. Now for the killer, you're basically trying to stop the survivors from doing all that.
Yeah.
You are moving around the level trying to find any of the survivors. So remember, there's 4 of them. So you spot somebody, and then you try and chase them down. For the most part, the killers seem to move quite a bit faster than the survivors. So when you see someone, they should be able to catch up to them as long as they just keep chasing after them.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's a little bit different, but like if you hit somebody once, they'll usually just become wounded and run off again, and then you have to hit them one more time to actually down them or make them fall to the ground, and then the killer can then pick them up and like put them on a hook basically, so that they're kind of stuck there and they need a teammate to come save them. So that's another thing that the survivors can do, is like helping to save their teammates or rescue them, I guess I would say. You want to go ahead and explain more about that?
So as the killers, apparently you are tasked to, you don't kill the survivors per se, you capture them and like sacrifice them to the entity, which is like a alien-like creature. Kind of remind me of the alien from A Quiet Place, kind of look like that. But anyways, the entity is what's gonna grab the survivors from the hook, and if the survivors are hooked 3 times, and that means the entity would consume it automatically, but otherwise they would have a chance of escaping again. There are 5 main killers that comes with the base game, and the other killers are unlocked if you bought the DLC, or if you can also purchase them online through the coins that they sell, the Oryx cells or something in the game. And most of the killers have a background story. A lot of it comes from horror stories that we already know. For example, the Nemesis comes from Resident Evil, or the Ghostface is from Scream, And there's also Freddy Krueger, who
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And was it the guy from Halloween, right?
Yeah, and also the Onryo, who is from The Ring, Sadako, from The Ring.
So I kind of like that, how they take characters like from movies or shows that we all know, and these scary characters that
Mm-hmm.
maybe were our worst nightmare as kids or
Yes.
something. Because some of these movies are a little bit older,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're putting them in the game, and I think that's really clever and interesting
Yeah.
to kind of see some of those characters that we are already familiar with and that we are already scared of.
Yeah, and all of these killers have like different abilities, like how they attack. Like some of them could set traps, or the huntress could use her axe and kind of like
Yeah.
longer range to throw her axe and wound us instead of just meleeing us, like hitting us using her melee.
Yeah, so every killer seems to have, a few different abilities where I guess they have like their regular attack, which is kind of just they swing their weapon in front of them or their claws or whatever they have, and then they also have like an ability which everyone's is a little bit different. Like Joanne mentioned, the huntress can throw like a hatchet, so she has a ranged attack that she can hit people with, and then the nurse can teleport around,
Blink, yeah.
Yeah, blink or whatever, but then she's slowed after that, so that one's really hard to use, actually. But everyone's has their own unique abilities or things that they can do that the other killer characters cannot.
Yes.
And there's quite a few of them, so we just don't have all of them unlocked. We just had to have the 5 main based ones, so we've had a chance to try all of those. But some of the other ones we've played against,
Yes,
and they seem really cool. Like, what were you calling him? The Nemesis? The guy who... Is he the one that has, like, zombies?
Yes, he
like,
has like
falling around?
zombies scattered around the map to help him. And
Yeah, that was
then-
not fair. It was supposed to be
I
4
know.
against 1. But
Exactly.
yeah, that one really changed things up, made it a
And
lot
then
harder.
there's the one that I fought against, the ring, the lady from the ring. She has like televisions that she could come out of or something. I don't know, like she could watch us. It's like her teleport and we have to like turn it off or something or destroy the televisions.
Well, because that's what it was in the movie, right? Like, she'd come
Yeah.
out of the TV screen.
Yeah, and then we had one fight against the hag who kind of like she could set traps, and then when it's triggered, she could appear right there, like teleport to the trap itself. That's why we were kind of like confused. How did she get here so fast? Remember?
Yeah, and I think knowing what the killers are capable of, or like where they're strongest or where they're weaker, is helpful. Definitely in playing the game, especially stuff like that hag one. Not knowing that she could teleport around, didn't really know what to expect with her. But yeah, they all seem very unique, very different. And I guess we can start talking some about the survivors. You can pick from a list of different survivors as well, but it seems to be a lot less. I mean, they all have like different perks that you can equip that basically give you different like passives. Either make you heal your wounded allies faster, or what they call auras, so you can like see other players' outlines, whether that's the killer or your other survivors, because otherwise you don't necessarily know where your teammates are. But anyways, those passives basically help you perform better each match, and each survivor seems to have different ones, and so that seems to be like the main difference. Obviously, they look different. Am I missing anything?
Like the same way the killers have like DLCs, the survivors have like DLCs to have like more variety if you want. But we only have the base. So yeah, we have 7 to pick from right now.
Gotcha. And both sets, the survivors and the killers, they both have their own lore, like unique lore?
Yeah,
or...
backstory.
Okay, the survivors do too? I know we were looking into that for the killers, but the survivors also have lore?
Pretty much, but not as deep. More like what we're doing or their values and stuff like that. But
gotcha. Yeah, but I guess they could probably write a lot more and get a lot more creative about the killers' past and everything.
Yep.
Especially if one already exists and there's a whole movie about it or that kind of thing. Okay, so anyways, that's kind of how the game works. What do you like about it?
I like how like it kind of reminds me of that Left 4 Dead where it matches you with 3 other people, like So there's a group of 4 trying to survive,
Yeah.
But it's in a smaller map, I think, compared to Left 4 Dead. I would compare it to Left 4 Dead a lot because this one seems more like the task that you need to do is very clear, which is to repair generators, open the door, and if there's one of you left, a hatch would spawn, like appear, and enables you to escape even though you haven't repaired the generators. And the killer, if the killer gets to the hatch first, the killer could shut it, and thus you would have very little chance of escaping.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever found that hatch.
I've never
I
found.
don't know if they exist.
Oh,
Just
they
saying.
do. I've closed one as a killer, but I have not found one as a survivor.
I don't even know what they would look like. Maybe I need to look that up. Like maybe that's why I've never found one.
It was in a tutorial.
Yeah, but I don't remember. Like that was a while ago, and just there's like that one time.
Yeah, it's very tricky. It would like appear in the randomest place, I guess. But I like that it's different every time we play it. In terms of the map, it's always different. Like sometimes you get the same map, but oftentimes I would like, wait, where is this?
Yeah,
And then
we're starting to get some like repeat maps and everything. So
yeah,
but there's some variety in the maps, and
there is
some
a
of
variety.
some of them feel way harder than others.
Yes.
Just because it's way harder to either move around or hide from the killer. I guess I'm thinking about it from the survivor's perspective because that's usually how we're playing.
And at first I thought it was easier being a killer, but then I was wrong. Actually, it's pretty hard being a killer too because you're like against 4 players and you have to really hunt them down before they finish repairing. You would be shocked to see how fast some survivors could repair the generators. So
It's those skill checks. Some people are pros.
yeah. So yeah, I don't really know what to say about the game except like how I like the way it is. Like very clear objectives, very straightforward, and variety of maps, variety of killers, variety of survivors, and every time you play it is with different people. So yeah, the outcome's always different. You could have like someone who's pro in fixing generators, or you could be someone who keep exposing where you are.
That's another thing. We didn't really mention the skill checks or explain those, right? So when you're repairing a generator, occasionally the circle thing will pop up and you need to hit the space bar like when it's in the right spot. And if you miss that, then I don't know if the generator will like backfire or something.
Yeah, it explodes.
And then like it'll make a loud noise, and then the killer will be able to see where you are like when that happens. So usually if you do that, the killer's gonna try like running to you or something. So
I do have to point out that the killer could see the aura of all the generators that needs repair, like it's red in color from the killer's perspective. As a killer, we would walk towards all these red spots to look for a survivor. But as a survivor, you can't see where the generators are, so you have to like walk aimlessly around till you find one, or it's really hard as a survivor to navigate compared to the killer because the killer knows exactly where the generators are.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm terrible at is finding the generators.
Yes.
Sometimes I spend like the first few minutes just like trying to find one to start working on, and I totally forgot that the killers can actually see like the outline of them, so they know exactly where they all are. That's interesting. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, what I like about the game, I really like what they did with the sound in the game, right? Like another thing we didn't really cover is as the killer gets closer to you, you can hear a heartbeat. So like if it's very faint, it means they're still kind of far away. But once it starts getting louder, then like, okay, they're getting closer to you.
And it's faster too. It beats faster too.
Yeah, it's louder and faster. And yeah, so if you're like just running one direction and you hear it getting louder and louder, like usually probably want to turn around, hightail it out of there. But like I feel like the sound, they did a really good job at that. And then also, if somebody is wounded, they kind of make these grunts and cries and everything.
Yeah.
Just because they're wounded, and other players can hear that, and the killer can hear that, and so even though you want your character to just like shut up and like stop making noises to give yourself away, you know, obviously that still happens, and the killer, as long as they're listening, they can use that information to really find you.
Yep, as the killer, when I play as a killer. I like when I wound one of the survivors and then they run away and then they hide in the locker, because there are these lockers around that you could choose to hide in, but they forgot that they're wounded. So I could see like a trail of blood leading to the locker, and then when I get closer to the locker, I could hear them like breathing, like moaning and groaning. And then I just open the locker and get down.
Yeah, so I mean, sure, some people probably disagree with me, but I feel like they used sound in a way to kind of enhance the whole game and the submersion, right, of like all the senses. I feel like they did a really good job with that one.
Yes, they did. Yeah, you got a point there. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah, and then I like it's kind of like a casual PvP experience. Like the matches don't last insanely long. I mean, it can get pretty intense just because it's like horror and, you know, frightening. And I feel like when we first started playing, when I was a survivor and the killer was chasing me, like it was like very, very, very intense, right? And like it would have me on the edge of my seat, and my heart would be racing as fast as the game was. But I feel like now I'm a little bit more like settled into it, and like I kind of know, okay, this is where I'm going to run to, and, you know, I'm going to try and hop over this stuff to try and get away. Like feel like I'm a lot more prepared for how to handle those situations than when we first started playing. So it's not as intense.
And if you're playing with your spouse or your friends, just bear in mind that you can't be in the same team if you want to play as a killer. Only as survivors, you guys could be in a party together because there's 4. But as a killer, it's always like you have to play. And I haven't been matched with Kevin every time I play as a killer. And when he's playing as a survivor, I was hoping I would match. It'll be fun trying to chase him down. But
yeah, that's probably just really unlikely with the number of players playing. So
yeah, so that's just the downside about what I didn't like about the game. I wish like we could choose, you know, kind of like Among Us, where like it's in a party and then one of you would be like the killer or the imposter.
Yeah, but I guess if you're doing it intentionally, that one of us is the killer and the other one's a survivor, I guess they obviously fear, you know, the survivor giving people's positions away or like helping the killer somehow, right?
Yeah, maybe. Possibly. Yeah. But yeah, that is about the game. And it's free on Game Pass, so do check it out.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely worth checking out. I don't know if I would spend like full price. I don't even know what the game would be full price today, just because we got it through Game Pass. But you know, I could probably see spending $30 or so on this game and kind of coming back to it every once in a while and playing with friends. Especially, there's a lot more fun to play with friends.
Yes,
it's just, you know, especially listening to you, Joanne, like when you have a killer chasing you and
when I
freaking out.
I know. I enjoy being the killer because I like so chill when I'm playing as a killer. But when I'm the survivor, if you guys ever see me stream one day again on this game, you would see me scream and cuss and everything when the killer is chasing me. For some reason, the killer loves to chase me compared to anybody else. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's the tough part. When a killer like finds you, they're usually just gonna chase you down until they get you. And every second you survive, you basically being lucky. Yeah. And usually, unless you completely lose them, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Like they're just gonna keep chasing you until they get you.
Yeah. But funny, this is a game that I actually like smile. Like even though it's stressful, it makes you smile, even as a survivor. I mean, you scream and everything, but after that, you feel good. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know.
As a survivor, you're saying?
Yeah, both ways. I feel.
Well, yeah, I think once you're like downed, there's like a sense of relief that like, okay, it's out of your hands now. There's not really anything else you can do, you know, besides like trying to recover or whatever. But
yeah, and if you do die in the game, you don't have to watch or wait for the whole game to end. It's like you just leave the game right away, right? Like they put you out of the game.
Yeah, you can choose to spectate or like just go back to main menu and go into a different game. You don't have to wait
Yeah.
for that game to be over with, which is nice because if you happen to die really early, then you can just kind of move on. And that's like you want to wait if you're playing with other people.
Yeah.
All right, then let's go ahead and hop into our category reviews.
Yes, please.
First category is convenience. What do you think about the convenience of this game?
I would give it a 5.
A 5 in convenience.
So average.
Really?
Yeah. Because
why is that?
it's convenient because the game is not like super long to me. I mean, it could get long, but it's not super long. But it's inconvenient because you can't AFK halfway through without, being found, or somehow like it's penalizing for everyone because you're not working on a generator if you're AFK, and even if you hide in a locker, it's like you're not helping the team. It's not the kind of game that you want to go AFK while being in a round.
Yeah, I feel like time is not really on your side. Like either way, whether you're the killer, then everyone's just going to fix the generators while you're away, and that's basically a guaranteed loss. But then as a survivor, if you just go AFK somewhere, your teammates might still kind of come through and win the game for you, but I mean, for the most part, every second you waste is, 1 second that the killer's going to have everybody down. So,
but it's not that long of a game. I'm just saying, like, if you have kids and you want to finish the game in 15 minutes before you could get the kids.
Yeah. How long were our games? Was it about 15 minutes?
I think so. Like,
even slightly longer than that, maybe. But I could be
that
wrong.
would be like the least. 15 minutes would be like the least, but normally it lasts longer depending on who you're with. If your survivors are like all caught and dead before, then it would be quick.
Okay. I'm giving it a convenience of 3.
Okay.
Because, well, one, it's a little bit convenient because the matches aren't extremely long, right? It's not 45-hour-long matches that you can't pause or take a break from. So they're on the little bit more on the shorter side. Not short, but they're not extremely long either. And then it's also really difficult to step away because either the killer is going to find you or you're just going to let everybody else escape if you are the killer. So very hard to step away from and not just completely lose. So that's why I gave it a lowish score of 3. Next is communication. What do you think on the communication?
I would say it's not necessary. That's how we could play with other people without any audio. But it does help. I think like when you get hit by the killer or you get discovered and you get hanged, and then somehow the auras, like, as you can see where the person is being hanged and stuff. So you can get there without them calling to you. So I would say the communication for this is about 3.
A 3 on communication?
Yeah,
okay.
But then you do talk about it after the game too, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm giving it an 8 on communication.
What? Why?
And that is, well, so we've played it, I've played it by myself, right?
Yeah.
And I've played it with you, and we've played with a group of 3, and I feel like kind of the more people you add to it, the easier it is because of that communication, because we're actually talking to each other, right? Because if you're saying like, oh, the killer's chasing me, and you see that person like running towards you, then like you need to hightail out of there too, because the killer is probably going to come right around the corner.
It's nice to have, but it's not necessary, I think.
Or, I mean, it makes it a lot easier. Or like if the killer hooks one of us and he's basically like guarding that position, and you're able to communicate that, then your teammates know like, okay, just fix generators, don't try and save that person because the killer's right there. And also, like, it's really hard to play the game and like not talk to each other about like what's going on, or like especially if the killer is nearby or something.
Okay. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's not just different opinions, I guess, on communication, but that's fine.
Yeah, this is the first time we've been so different on a rating.
That's all right. Next category though is story. What did you think about the story?
I think it has a good story because I read the backstory of the killers, all the base killers at least, and then some of the DLC killers. And I actually think it was interesting to know why the killers became the way they were, or why they choose the weapons that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Even their outfits, some of them, or how they look, have something to do with their story. Not really on the survivors. The survivors were more like simple stories, but
Gotcha.
I think story-wise, it's pretty high. I would give it 8 on story.
Okay. So yes, I think that was the difference between you and me, right? Because you read like all the backstories.
Yeah.
And you also play games like Choices.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of like to read to take in that story, whereas like I really don't. So I didn't read any of the backstories. I appreciate that they're there, at least, that, you know, for people who want to know more about it, their characters can read about them. Obviously, it's not really a huge story-driven game, but because, you know, they have a lore about all these like interesting characters, especially on the killer's side. I gave it a 5 for story. Kind of average, I guess. Next is repeatability. What did you think about the repeatability?
Repeatability is high for me. Like I said, like I haven't touched Lost Ark or any other game on the computer these past couple of weeks. I've been really into Dead by Daylight because I really want to try out like different maps and use different abilities of different killers as well as survivors. Plus, there's this thing called blood webs, which is kind of like your skills or something to level up your character. And I've been like leveling up my killer as well as my survivor. I choose one of each and see where that takes me. But ultimately, I think it's a very repeatable game. It's not something that would be like my eternal flame, like World of Warcraft or
right,
or Lost Ark, but it's something that I would just leave on my computer. Like I will not uninstall it just because I want to get into it from time to time. So I'm giving it a repeatability rating of 8.
Of 8. Okay, I'm right there with you. I agree with everything that you said. I think just slightly less into it as you, which makes sense because I think I'm playing it a little bit less than you also. So I'm giving it a repeatability score of 7. And the last category is fun. Obviously, you had fun with this game. But how much on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'll still give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty fun.
An 8 out of 10. Okay. I also gave it an 8 out of 10. So we matched exactly there. Having fun with it, definitely. I think it would be even more so if we had like all the killers unlocked and survivors, I guess, just so that we could, you know, try playing as different characters. There's not a whole lot we can do with just the base one, but it's still a lot of fun. And especially like even as you play as the survivors, you can be matched up against killers that you don't have unlocked, so you still get to like at least interact and see them that way. So that part's still fun.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so that was all the categories, and just totaling these up here, looks like I gave it a 31 and you gave it a 32.
Pretty close in the end.
So very close, and also pretty decent scores. I'm kind of considering anything over 30 is not bad at all.
That's more than 3 stars.
Yeah, and it's out of 50 here, so and across all those 5 categories of convenience, communication, story, repeatability, and fun. So that wraps up our review of Dead by Daylight. I don't think I'm done playing with it. I kind of want to hop into it some here if we have any more time before we get into the next game. They come and go so quickly.
Yes.
But that wraps up our review. If you want to see our gameplay of Dead by Daylight, you can over on the YouTube channel, KJ After Dark. Or if you just want to hang out and talk with us some, you can join our Discord channel, which you can find in the link of the podcast episode or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. You can also check us out at twitter.com/KJAfterDark or Instagram.com/KJ_after_dark. And we would really appreciate if you could give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment, whatever it is, wherever it is, all that good stuff.
Yep, please do.
That's all that we have for you this time, and we will catch you in the next one.
Bye.